Hey everyone, it's Salman Qureshi. Welcome to the Expat Brat podcast. How is everyone doing? As always, I'm hoping you guys have had a great week, and everything has been wonderful the last few days before the weekend and in the time between the last episode and now. And things just blossomed for you, and the partner that you had been looking for your whole life looked across the room at you, and you instantly knew, and you gravitated towards each other, locking your eyes and your hands as you met. They brushed against each other, and you felt a little tingling, and you knew this was a person. Your heartbeat fastened a little bit, and then everything just happened so fast. It was awesome. And now you're married and you are expecting kids. No, that's too fast. Okay, we'll let's rewind that a little bit. You've met them, yeah, the brushing, everything's happened. Your first date, you go there, you guys spend hours together, and the time just flies. You don't even realize what you're talking about. The food, the company, everything is just so perfect that nothing will ever match that experience again. No. That kind of wandered off into another, like, disappointing, like, eventual disappointment, right? So, okay, let's just end it on the first date. You've had a great date. You're feeling like you're walking on clouds, and you're looking forward to life like never before. That's how, I hope that is the kind of time you've had in the time you listened to my last episode. And now, how are you guys? I'm a little tired today because oh my God, I was out all day yesterday, and then I had a show at night, an improv show, and as much as I love performing, it's the next day does feel a little like there's always if you're if you're not an artist, you know, one of the things a lot of us go through is the high of a great fun night of performance where, great audience, everything, and then the next day of just being humbled back into your place with your kid whacking you up and stuff. Like, real life hits you again, right? And you're no longer in the magical space of the stage, but in a kitchen washing some dishes or something. I don't know. Whatever it is that you end up doing. But something very humbling. Yeah. But speaking about love, I've been like thinking about this whole cousin marriage thing. Not in the sense that like I want to do it, but I just, it just came up because someone was talking to me about it, and I don't know how I feel about this, honestly. I'm going to talk my way through this, all right? Now, obviously, I'm not encouraging cousin marriage. What I feel unsure about is how today's generation kind of derides people about it, right? That doesn't sit too well with me for a reason, right? It's something that existed for a very long time and was considered normal, I think, in at least in some parts of the world, and it still does in a lot of places. And so going from that to never doing it is not as easy as we think, right? Now, if you go towards the States, now, I think, I was looking this stuff up, right? And it's actually about 10% in the U.S. Cousin marriages are 10% of total marriages. And I think about that, I'm like, okay, all right, and a lot of it might be the Mormons or whatever, but it must exist in some form in some other non-Mormon groups for it to happen at 10%. 10%, what's the population of America? 400 million? But no, it's not by total population. I'm doing the math wrong here. It's 10% of all marriages. So how many marriages are there in the States? There are 400 million people. I'm gonna make up my own math on this and could be horribly wrong, so do not quote this, okay? 400 million people, let's say half of them are married, so that's 200 million people who are married out of, or even less, let's 75 million people married. 75 million married people are married to each other, obviously, so that halves it to about 30 million. More, I know. I'm really like taking minimum as much as I can on each stat. So let's say 30 million people are married in America, right, to each other. Well, 70, but 30 million people. I don't know why I'm halving it. Yeah, 30 million people. I'm just going to go with that. 10% of that is 3 million people. There are 3 million cousins married to each other in just the United States. All right. So it's not as uncommon as you think. We're talking in millions. We're still talking in millions. And this is America. Now you move over to our part of the world, and that number apparently, I don't know if it's correct because I got it off. Where did I get this number off? Somewhere on the internet, right? So can you believe everything on the internet? I should have quoted my source. It was some other podcast, actually. I might have heard it, or some research. I read it. It was some research survey. It was a survey. 80%. 80% of this part. When I say this part of the world, I'm talking about the Middle East and the subcontinent, somewhere around these areas, right? 80%, man. You're looking at a population, if I count in India and Pakistan, that's 1.5 billion people. So, or just the Middle East, in the GCC in the Middle East, that would be at least 50 million people. 80% is like 20, 30 million people who are cousins married to each other. Now, why am I bringing these numbers up? Okay. First of all, it's not as uncommon as we like to think. And if you really think about it, all of our families, large families that we know loads of cousins who are married to each other. So now it becomes kind of awkward when we're kind of speaking against it, at least in this part of the world again. And, like across the table, your cousins are married to each other. Now, I don't know if it's first cousin or second cousin or third cousin, if you've gone down that far, but definitely is cousin stuff. And so if you're bringing it up, obviously, I think a lot of people will be like, hey, what the hell, man? Like, they'll feel uncomfortable and embarrassed about it, and they're going to defend it. So making fun of it is isolating a lot of your own 80% of your family, right? And maybe if that's your objective, then go for it. You're good. That's a good way to get them. But if you are genuinely concerned about it, then maybe publicly trying to humiliate the whole thing might not be the best way to go, right? I'm talking sense here, right? You can't, because you're lucky if your parents weren't cousins got married, yeah? And if they were, you'll see whatever, right? There are loads of problems around, but there's history behind this, man. There's history. I read up on this, okay? Just for this, out of curiosity. All right, so here's apparently what we're guessing happened. Initially, we're hunters, right? We're out there, we're hunting our food, we're going around, killing things. And so because we're on the move, we're meeting new people all the time. People probably dying quick too, right? Getting trampled and stuff. And the hunter sometimes becoming the hunted. If you watch The Prey, the new Predator movie, then there might be predators who had come back and they're hunting you. All right, I digress. But anyway, so there you are. You guys are hunters on the move. It's I don't know if marriage was an actual thing. What'd you do? You put it on stone, made a mark on. I don't know how it was done before. You just decide to be with each other, and so you could be with anyone, and you move around. You don't have a choice. You're like, if she and he are alive, good enough, right? Beauty standards were probably lower. Personal hygiene wasn't probably something you look at. Personality probably was the bigger factor, I think, right? So there you go. So, you're marrying around, you're moving about, you're dying, and then you're marrying again. So it's a real good mix. Then, unfortunately, human beings discover agriculture. And they go, oh, I don't have to risk my life. I can just, find a good piece of land and plant my shit and raise a family and just settle there, And so most of you start living around each other. Most of you knew each other, right? You trust each other a bit more than hunters you didn't know. and you start doing this together. You're growing tomatoes, and you're growing carrots, and it's all lovey-dovey. But now you can't, you're not moving around. People are in their own space. And remember, no one has a car. Okay? So you're just kind of stuck. You're like, now you have two choices. You're sitting there, you're like, do I get on a horse, or whatever mode of transport I have, ostrich, camel, whatever you had, a sheep, your younger brother, I don't know, whatever you were using, you had to go to the next town to find someone. It'd take you like a month. I don't know, at least a month. And you have to go all the way there. And yeah, it's a chance. Would they want to marry and move, take another month back to come back with you? And what if you die on the way? One of you dies on the way. What a waste of time. Ain't nobody got time ain't nobody got time for that kind of stuff. So what do? You look around where you are in your space. You eye your mom's sister's kid. And remember, again, standards are probably still not high. And you're not, you haven't studied science and stuff. So you're like, she's pretty. Let's do this. All right. So you just settle for her. And maybe it turns out well, right? Just because you're cousins doesn't mean your kids will have issues. It increases the chances, but it's not a guarantee. And so, that's how you found your spouse. Now, interestingly, one of the things that came up when I was like reading about this stuff was that if you grow up together, there's some kind of like issue of like the genetic attraction is sometimes not there. Like if you really grew up together. But I don't know if that's true. I read that and I was like, no, I've seen loads of kids who grew up together and they got, well, not loads, but I've heard of cousins who then got married. And maybe it's a marriage that forces the attraction then, and you kind of change your view about it. So someone you were calling, in the subcontinent, you even refer to your cousins as brother or sister. And now, well, that's kind of changed. So you do that. Now, back in Pakistan, my own home country, they did a survey, and it was really interesting. They defended cousin marriage quite a bit. And they had, look, you got to listen to some of these reasons. I thought some of it was legit, yeah? So it was about, you're looking at a society that, again, is conservative, right? And so you feel like, people are like, we're more compatible with family than strangers. No shit. I don't know if that's a legit reason, but they're just like, hey, I don't know how to talk I think it's another way of saying I don't know how to talk to girls. And so I grew up talking to my cousin, that'll do, when I have to have awkward conversations. That's the thing what they meant by it. I'm trying to defend this and I can't help but laugh. I know, sorry. And then there's this perception, though. This one's fairly reasonable, but probably untrue. They think your in-laws will be kinder if they're from the same family, right? So you have some leeway with that. Like you go, hey, if you did marry your mom's sister's kid, then you could go back to the mothers and go, hey, what's going on? And they're more likely to kind of ease the situation, settle it, at least in theory. Then you go down and see what's actually happening, and you go, nah, that stuff doesn't work either, right? So it's just excuses of people who are probably married as cousins trying to find reasons to defend that stuff. And then there's one aspect which goes back. So, again, when you're kind of like looking around, then the physical appearance may not matter as much as when you're looking outside, because you do know what they're like, so you might already be kind of like feeling good about it. Whereas with a stranger, it does focus more, especially in arranged marriages. There has to be, unfortunately, a larger focus on physical attraction, obviously, right? You can't be sitting there going, I don't know, her personality came through on the time we sat together and stuff. So you'd have to check out how hot they are. And if you find them hot enough, you go, all right, I'll take a risk with this one. So it's super hot. I'll do that. And that was the only go-to you had, man. So, there that one, I'm kind of like, maybe that's a good one. But all this, here's a bit that really struck with me about it. All this kind of means when people, the problem is because everyone else is marrying within their families and cousins. People get suspicious when you try to marry outside of your own family. Yeah, that's what happens. You know why, right? Like, it's because they suspect you. They're like, hey, man, if he wasn't good enough, she wasn't good enough for their own family, why should we take them? Right? So they're suspicious about that. They're like, there's something wrong with this person. We don't know what it is, but it's, if they're not good enough if they're not good enough for inbreeding, they're not good enough for outbreeding with us. All right. So that's a messed up criteria to have, though. That is so bizarre. But that's cousin marriages, man. And that's why I'm like, all right, so, all of this, now that I'm saying it out loud, when I was thinking about it, I was kind of like, yeah, some of this makes sense. And now that I'm saying it out loud, nah, it's still stupid. We gotta hammer on about cousin marriages being stupid. Start shaming them. I go back on what I said. We gotta get rid of this. But yeah, you can't like blame people who married 50 years ago as cousins and stuff, man. Just drop that stuff. That's that's ridiculous. All right. And what else is ridiculous is I'm kind of sick. If you understand sports, everybody loves a good rivalry. Okay, I do too. When two teams pitted against each other, but I'm kind of, I come out and say it. I'm kind of tired. If you don't know anything about cricket, India and Pakistan is probably one of the most fiercest. Is that how you say it? Fiercest rivals in the world. All right, billions literally watch that game every time, and it's heated. I don't think any other rivalry is of that scale. Probably because we fought wars and stuff and are still in proxy wars with each other. So it's cricket is the other thing we battle out on because unfortunately for Pakistan, that's the only big sport they have. And in India, although they're evolving into other sports, cricket is still right up there with Bollywood. So it becomes you'd have to live under a rock not to know this. Okay, so it becomes this huge thing, and I'm coming out and saying it. It's become boring. All right. I don't know how, because after a while it just becomes dumb as hell. Like seeing people lose their shit over because you've played so many times against each other. It's not special. It's not like the Celtics and Lakers rivalry in the 80s or the Bulls versus everybody else. It's nice for a while. You kind of get into it. You want to see what happens. But man, this has been going on for years. And I'm just like, let's stop overreacting to it as much. Yeah? I'm done with it. I'm bored of it. I don't want to see it anymore. I don't care. I don't even really follow it anymore. I know the last game apparently was a real nail biter with loads of people watching and stuff. Apparently it was a good match, but I'm tired of the whole rivalry. There's something you can overdo, right? I like brownies. It doesn't mean I stuff my face with brownies from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 p.m. Yeah? Right? Or if I like a bagel toasted, like I do, it doesn't mean I over toast it, keep toasting it, right? After a while, it's burnt. All right? That's what I feel like we're at the stage with India, Pakistan. I know people still go watch it. They still want to see it. There, some people are still excited. But I hope the new generation goes, hey, man, this has gotten old. Let's find something else to do. Honestly, it needs to, I'm bored of that. We need to find a way to move on from this, man. Or at least not make it as special every time it happens. I'm just, I really think, how many times are you going to pump yourself up for it? It's probably, the subcontinent, people from the subcontinent, they're, they tend to have more heart attacks. And I think these matches, because the media and everybody pumps it up, because they want the money, right? If it keeps going and you're excited about it, it's more money for advertisers and all. It's just like a whole feeding frenzy kind of situation they create. So if we stopped it, we'd probably have less heart attacks with people, man. And then we'd all just get along probably a little better, right? And we wouldn't like, yeah. I know for a lot of my listeners here who aren't into this matches or listening in the Middle East, they might not get the India Pakistan thing, but yeah, my thing goes out to just generalize it for all sports. If you're sitting there and you're really upset and to the point of anger with some team, this kind of just take a step back, man. It's nice to be passionate. It's a whole different thing to be like a fundamentalist about it. All right, it's sports. Jeez, human beings just kind of find a way to get really riled up about anything, right? You could start a cooking show and then turn it into something where people are taking sides and they're fighting over food. It happens. It doesn't happen in the Middle East where there's a whole hummus fight, like who hummus belongs to, right? The Israelis, the Palestinians, and the Syrians and the Lebanese all kind of claiming it's theirs, yeah. And then I had this dish from Jordan. Oh my God, I'm forgetting the name now. It's a rice and meat thing. Isn't it all rice and meat? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to. I hope I don't upset my listeners. I'm gonna have to. Mansaf. That's what it is. Mansaf. And then I found out there are a couple of other countries claiming they have Mansaf, right? But I think that one's a strong Jordan thing. Why am I bringing this up? My point being, we'll find a way to get passionate about anything and fight over it and make it about like to the point where it's like we're gonna be at each other's throats for things. Who cares? Right? Like I don't care if it's claimed by them. I eat it. I enjoy it. Screw it. Right? There's too much pride over things we shouldn't care about. You know what you should have pride in? Yourself. All right? If you were the inventor, you personally were the person who invented Mansaf, then I get it. Or hummus, or whatever it was. Then I get you saying, hey, yo, peeps. I was in my mom's basement. I don't know why it's the mom's basement. And I was like, just throwing stuff together into a pot. And I found hummus. All right? If that's your story, then you have every right to fight for it. If not, shut up. All right? Oh, wow. Why am I so angry today? Oh, God. I've been talking about cousin marriages. I've been talking about matches and stuff. Saudi has changed their visa rule, which is really cool because now I can get visa on arrival whenever that system gets going, right? So I'm really excited about that. I'm going to start going over, hitting some comedy nights, bringing some of my wonderful comedy over there. And I don't know how to because I don't know where the comedy clubs are and stuff. I know a couple of people. I'm going to hit them up and we'll see. The reason I bring that up is because if you are one of my Saudi listeners, then hit me up, leave me a message, and tell me what are some places to hit for comedy, and help me come over. I'd love to. So yeah, you guys do some work too, man. Why do I got to do everything? Okay. All right. Listen, I gotta go. As always, it's been fun. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and share it, show it some love, leave a comment, send me some questions. It's been lovely. You guys take care, have fun, goodbye, or as a dog would say, woof.